Okay. So welcome. This is Alexandra Sydorenko's unicorn tier class. And it's a wonderful little pattern that uses these gem cut faceted rondelles. And then it uses a variety of pearls or 4 mil fire polish or 3 mil fire polish. You can do whatever you like. And then 11 Otoho seed beads and 15 Otoho seed beads. And today I've also been using the Toho 1G thread with it, so I'm matching my colors. So that's one thing that's just a tiny bit different from Alexandra's pattern is I was using some different colors of these gem cuts, which are a little bit more transparent. So I wanted the thread to complement the beads. And so that's why with the teal, I use the teal color thread, or in the aqua, I use the same color thread. In the Alexandrite ones, which do change color, in fluorescent lighting, it's very blue, and soft lighting, it's very lavender. And so I use the lavender color thread in that one. And then in the bronze and black, I use the black thread. In the fuchsia and the cyan one, I use the bright red. That way it really worked out nicely to accent the fuchsia and the cyan. It just really gave it a pop. There's also this pink, it's like a blush pink color. And so I use the mauve thread for that. You can use Fireline, but Fireline only does come in the 2 different colors of thread colors. So just keep that in mind because you might really see them when they go through the beads. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can make these. The traditional pattern for it is basically just a really adorable little, it has the 4 millimeter pearls on the sides, and the little unicorn tears are just open to the world. And then the back is kind of plain so that you could see the open colorways. Otherwise, if you would like to, you could embellish the back as well. So there's a way of, doing a double-sided one like that. And there is also a way of doing the embellishment around the whole exterior. So what we're going to do first is just the traditional pattern with the beads. And then we'll show you how to embellish it more later. And so this is the traditional pattern with the open weave back, and then it just has a little loop for the ear wires. You can do it a variety of ways. I made the traditional pattern, but I put it on these, just a little fringe, and then made a 2-drop, and because I had it on these little components that are made by symbols. So I just made a little drop. You could put them together and make a bracelet if you wanted to. So it's a pretty fun thing. Or if you wanted to make a double, this one I put on a post and just made it. So there's a million different ways of doing it. The people who have the Alexandrite one, the kit, because that's a color changing bead, I gave you 2 different color 15-ohs to use. So you get to choose whether or not you want to use the lighter color one or the darker color one, and then later you can decide if you want to make it double-sided. So we'll start today by getting everything lined up on your tray. And so you'll have, for each little unicorn tier, you'll need 3 of your focal beads, and then you'll need 3 pearls. And most of your kits, you have 2 different colors in there, so you can choose which color you want to use for this. So for this one, I'm going to use the gold. And then you'll have a size 11-0 seed bead, and then you'll have a size 15-0 seed bead. And so those of you who have two different colors of the 15s, like I said, for this one, just choose which color you're going to use for this, because we're going to make a single-sided to start with. And then you'll need 1 yard of thread. And so we're using, I gave you all the size 11 Toho needles, which are pretty flexible. They have a little bit of bend to them. And so don't worry about the bend. It will just continue to work and work and work for you, but you want to be able to get in and out of those beads. So just thread, and we're going to use a single thread. So I just thread my needle by placing my needle in my fingers and then putting the needle on the thread. And then just leaving a little bit of a tail for me to hold on to here so that the eye doesn't slip off. And then we want to use about 1 yard. So you can bead off your bobbin, you can put a stopper bead, but generally you really don't need to do that with this because we're going to make a circle right away. So I'm going to show you quick the pattern of what we're going to do to begin with here. So as I said, the A bead, that is your giant cut bead here. So that looks like it's a faceted gem cut, and that's the number A. So then the pearl is the number B, that's the B. And so your pearl, pick out your pearl. And then the C is the A bead, right? Or right, this little, or the 11-0 right here. And that's what this red bead is. And so the D's we're going to use in a little bit. So for now, what you're going to do is you're going to pick up 1 C and then 1 B and 1 C and then 1 A. So that's an 11-0 round, a pearl, 11-0 round, and then that giant faceted bead. And then you're going to repeat that again and again. So it'll be a 3 sequence. So on your needle, you'll have 3 of each of the focal beads, 3 of the pearls with a seed bead in between. Okay. And so then I'll show you what that looks like. So once again, on my needle, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 round and then a pearl. Sometimes the pearls are harder to pick up, so I'm going to put it out with my hand. And then the 11-0 round, and then one of the giant beads. And so this is our sequence, and then we're just going to repeat that 2 more times. So pick up the 11-0 round, and then the pearl, the 11-0 round, and then the big faceted. And now we need our 3rd set of the beads. So 1 11-0 round, 1 pearl, 1 11-0 round, and 1 of the big ones. So that's what it's going to look like. And you want to slide that all the way down so that you have about an 8-inch tail. And that's it, just an 8-inch tail. And then we're going to make a circle. Does that make sense to everybody? We can wait till you all get set up. Feel free to unmute. You can talk there. Don't be shy. We want you to get it and understand it. And so does everybody have their beads loaded? Okay. So then what we're going to do is go back through all of them and form a circle. So I usually just hold them in my hand some way that I can not splice my thread. And then we're going to pass through the beads again. It's hard to pass through them all, so don't worry about trying to do that, but hold on to your tail so your beads don't fall off. Pass through all your beads again. And so we're going to form a circle with these. So you want to stop before you meet your tail, or right when you meet your tail. So is everybody there? So we pass through them all again. This is my working thread. This is my tail thread. So now I want to tie a knot with my tail to keep this little teardrop heart shape tightened together. So just a right over left, left over right, a basic knot. And this is the only knot you'll make in the whole pattern. But basically, it now looks like a little teardrop. And so I usually just hold on to this tail. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be working away from myself. But if you're left-handed, it doesn't matter which direction around that you go, because if you flip it over, you can go that way. So feel comfortable, but just keep an eye on where you're at.
Fuck me sideways.
So is everybody with me?
When we go through the needles again, do we go through like the tail side to like complete a circle?
Yes, go through from the tail side back in, so that way it'll form the circle and you'll meet your tail, and then you can tie the knot with your tail so that it holds it tight. Yep, so you've got a total circle.
Okay.
We'll wait till you get your circle, no worries.
Was this the part you were lost at?
So everybody has their circle now?
Not quite, almost.
Yeah, it is hard because there's a lot of beads. So I usually went through like 3 beads at a time, 3 beads at a time, and then met my tail and then tied the knot. So.
And is it just a square knot when we tie it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Simple, basic, small enough to hide and go around.
Okay.
And then as soon as you've got your knot tied, just go through that big focal bead, the A bead, whichever color you've got, that the one you're just next to, just pass through that A bead. So you're exiting out of the A bead.
Oh no.
And so then I'll show you what we're going to do. Because yes, you slid all your beads on there and then you went around again, and so they formed a circle and you tied your knot, and then we just went through this big bead that we were right next to so that you could exit there. So then after that, we are going to pick up 4 15-ohs, 1 11-oh, 4 15-ohs, and we're going to make archways that are going to go over each one of these A beads. And so everyone pick up 4 15s and 1 11.
Pick me up 4 15s and 11.
Yeah, 4 15s, 1 11, 4 15s. So it's a total of 9 beads. So yeah, so I have 4 15s and then 1 11-oh and 4 15s. And then we are right here exiting out of your big focal bead. We want to circle around and pass back through that bead from the other side. So if you're exiting here, pass through the other side so that your needle exits right where your tail is coming out of. And then it's going to form Oh, I lost 2 beads though. You gotta have all 9 beads on there. That's part of it. Rethread my needle. Got 2 of those little 15-ohs got away from me. All right, so all 9 beads. So if we're exiting out of that bead, then we circle around and pass back through the same bead. So that way your 9 beads form this little archway around that big faceted rondelle. So now we want to move forward to do that same thing around the next one. So pass through your 11-0 and the pearl, and then the next big giant focal bead. And we are going to repeat this same archway that we did right here on this one. So we have to pick up the 9 beads again. 4 of the 15-ohs. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1 of the 11-ohs. And 4 15-ohs. Here we go. We've got 9 beads once again. And since we're exiting this side, this is going to circle around back and you'll pass through the same red bead all over again, or purple bead or blue bead, whichever color you've got. So now we have 2 archways. So then pass forward through the 11-0 and the pearl and the 11-0, and then the big focal bead right after that, and you'll make your 3rd archway. Yeah, if you pass through the bead, that way your arches are always perfectly arcing. And so we're always circling around back. So we have our 9 beads once again. And since we're exiting there, we are going to go through the other side and then exit the same place. And then we'll pass forward through the 11-0 and the pearl and the 11-0. And then we just ran into our tail thread again. We went all the way around and we added 3 arches. Is everybody getting it? How about you, Hadessa?
Hadassah's mom joined and is kind of learning how to do it, and then to show Hadassah slowly how to help her.
Hi, Hadessa's mom. What's your name?
My name is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Hello.
Play with us as well. We're very excited. And so Hadessa gave it a great shot the first time. It was just a little bit of a thread.
Yeah.
So that's why we sent her a link to join again to try.
Definitely appreciate that.
Well, and you know, we always don't get it on the first try. I always do it second and third times too. So you've got your arches, or you're almost there?
We're almost there.
Okay. So now that you've met your tail, I still, once again, I just hold my tail and pull that to the back. That way I can have something to hold on to. What we're going to do now is we're going to take these arches and we want to bring them all to the center together to connect. So what we're going to do, the very first arch that we're right next to here, you want to pass up through the first 4 set of the 15 O's and the 11 O in the middle. exit the 11 out in the middle of the first arch that you're by. And so we just want to make sure everybody is together. So we'll wait. So these little arches, you're going to kind of push to the center like this. And these 11 O's are all going to meet. And so I'm going to show you the pattern real quick here.
Shut up.
See, so what we did here, we put on our arches and we went all the way around. So each one had an arch. And then we came out of the last one and went up through the first 4 15s and the 11 of the first arch. So now what we're going to do is all of these little arches push to the center, and you're going to go from the 11-0 to the next 11-0 arch. You're going to skip all the 15s and just jump from 11 to 11 to 11 and go around those several times. And so they all meet together and pull nice and tight. So like I said, go up the 4 15s and exit the first 11-0. And then you're going to jump from 11-0 to 11-0 to the next arch, and pull them taut, and then pass through a second time on all of it. And so we're here. So I just came out of the 11.
Could you show me what you're doing again, please? I'm so sorry.
Do you want the pattern or do you want the real thing in person?
I would like to see it in person.
Okay, right here, if you look on the main screen, can you see the big screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I did is I moved through there. I did the arch and then came through the last 11-0, purl 11-0, and then
Okay.
up the first arch, the next arch, I went up the 4 15-0s and then exited right here on the 11-0, right in the center of that arch.
Okay.
So then if you hold it, like if you hold the tail and kind of pinch those together, what we're doing is each one of these arches, we want to push to the center. So there's an 11-0 on the top of each one of these arches.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of this arch, I'm going to pass through just the 11-0 of the next arch.
Okay.
And then pass through the 11-0 of the third archway.
Okay.
And then pull taut. And it doesn't really all come together until you then pass again through the first 11-0 that you came out of initially and pull taut. So that way all of them nestle right together in the middle. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then you're just going to pass that same thread pass one more time. Pass through each one of these 11s again to make this nice and tight.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So we went around again. All right. So does everybody's look like that? Where you've got all your arches connected in the center? So then what all we're doing now is we have right here in the center, she is just adding one more embellishment bead. That's all Alexandra was recommending right there. And you can use a 15 or an 11. I'm going to use an 11 here so that you can see it a little bit better. So you're coming out of this, there's 3 11s right in the middle, right? So what she's doing is just putting one accent bead in between those 3, each one, and that way it sticks up.
Okay.
So if you pick up an 11 or a 15, pass through the next 11, pick up an 11 or a 15, pass through 11, pick up an 11 or a 15, and then pass through the first 11. And so that way you now have 3 on a lower level, 3 on an upper level, and it just gives a really neat embellishment. And so what I do is I then pass down through the 4 15-0s in the arch that I just came out of.
Where's that?
That you can work your way down to pass through. But it's just continuing the circle like your initial arch. That way you can get now down to the outside layer. And so you've got your center layer done. And generally, I pass around the whole outside layer just one more time to strengthen the tension a little bit. And if you wanted to pass up any of these archways to tighten that tension there, you certainly could do that. You're just following the thread path. This one was just a little loose, so you're just making those circles, just like you did when you initially did it. So it's the same thread path, just a circle around, and then you can pass through the big focal bead. And that way you can tighten any of these archways in the tension that you want to. I'd rather just repeat a thread path versus try to pull really, really tight or adding wax or a thicker thread sometimes will help fill up the holes. But I tend to just pass through it again instead, another thread pass, instead of trying to do any of those tricks and maneuvers. It just seems to work out better. And so, like I said, if you want to repeat, you certainly can. And so has everybody finished the first part here now? I think so, yes?
Almost.
No worries. No worries. You just let me know. We don't have very much more to go with this, and then we're just gonna, we'll teach you the how to make multiple sides and stuff. So, but after you go through and strengthen any of your thread paths, you want to make our little what do you call it? The ear wire embellishment loop here, right on the top. It can also be used, we're gonna stack them together. It's the same little, it's basically like making an archway over one of the pearls is what we're doing here. And so I'll show you on the pattern because I know she's finishing up. So what we're gonna do, we just finished all around there, and then we added a second layer. So now what we're gonna do is create our archway around the pearl. So you're gonna exit out between the 11-0 and the pearl. So work your way to the edge wherever you were so that you're exiting an 11-0 between the 11 and the pearl. So you're going to add 2 15-0s, 1 11, and 2 15-0s. And then you're going to circle around back to the other side of the pearl, just like what we did, and then cage the pearl. See? And so you circle, add 2, and then 1 11, and then circle back through. And then we're gonna, so all we do is we cage the pearl. So we are right here. I've come out between the 11-0 and the pearl. So we're gonna add 2 15-0s, 1 11-0 round, and two 15-ohs. And so if you slide them all the way down. And so you can do one of two things. You can either just jump the pearl and go through, or go through the pearl and go around again. But the pearl has the smallest hole out of any of these beads. So generally, I just come out and jump it and go around once, so that you're not going through it twice here. Just because, like I said, the pearl has a smaller hole than the 15-oh seed bead. So we have just curved around, and so now I just want to, like a figure 8, I'm gonna come back up the first two 15s and come out of the 11-oh at the
This
top.
one is
Oh, of course, I
25.
lost
How
my
much
needle.
is it? 25, 40 cents.
$4.25?
$25.40.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so we just came out of the pearl here. We're gonna go up the first two 15s and the 11-oh. So you caged it around and then came up. Now we're gonna add the 6 beads for the earring loop. And so we want to make this little loop here. So add 6 little 15-ohs.
What color is it?
Black.
Black. I looking down, so maybe the size is one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have our 6 beads. If you're coming out of this side, we want to make the loop. So that means you need to go into the other side. So that way we have our little 6 bead loop, and then pass down through the two 15s on the other side, and then through the 11. And so now you have your little embellishment for your ear wire loop, can fit right on there. So usually I just go around in the whole thing again, because I don't want to tie any knots. And so passing through all the beads again. And then I can strengthen my ear wire loop when I go back around. And so I once again just do the figure 8 pattern. First go through the two 15s and the 11-oh. And then go all the way around the 6 bead loop. And you're basically, if you wanted to create a fringe or anything, you could do that from here. So instead of creating the little loop, you could then just go from that first loop and create the fringe. It's 100%. First, always cage the pearl so that you have somewhere to go. And so this little ear wire loop here then is where we are going to hook on to the ear wire. And so the ear wire will just open up and go right on that little loop. And so it's super fun and easy. And so how's everybody doing? Did you finish your first one?
Can I get a close-up of the little loop around it? I'm sorry.
And so, yep, the ear wire loop. There we go. And so, because you're just going to add two 15s and an 11, and then two 15s.
Okay.
So that's the first circle cage around the pearl.
Okay.
And you come up out of the 11, and then that's where you circle the figure 8 is right out of the 11. 6 little 15s, and then go back into the 11.
Okay.
And then down the other side. And I can show you on the pattern. It is first you have the two 15s, and then the 11, and then the two 15s. And then what I did is I just made 6 bead loop. She 4 11s and I use 6 15s, but you just go basically around and make the loop. It just looked easier with the 15s.
Okay.
So yeah, so after you put on the 2 15s, 11, 2 15s, then you come back and you have your 6 beads and just make the loop right there.
Okay.
Easier. Or so yeah, so that's the first part of the loop. 2 15s and 11, 2 15s. You go back through the purl and then come out the 11. That way you can add your beads right here.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. So, well, just to get it through the brain again, we're going to go over it one more time. And so I'm going to show you then how to make it double-sided or how to make the exterior, what do you call it? Like perimeter. See how it's more, there is the plain or there is the exterior. So you've got it kind of perimeter.
Okay.
Most people, some people hook them like 2 together and things like that. So you have enough to make 4. So I want to show you how to make the others so that, yeah, it's double-sided. So if you have the purple that has the 2 different colors of seed beads,
Mhm.
wanted it reversible, then you would want to get out your second color of the little 15os if you're doing the reversible technique. So this
Okay.
is where you would need that second color of the 15s if you're doing it that way. Otherwise, we're just going to make it reversible the same color for the rest of us fun folks. That way it's basically, we've got both sides embellished like that instead of just one or the perimeter. So once again, you're going to start with your 3 beads and then your 3 pearls and your 11s and your 15s, but you might have 2 colors of 15s if you're going to do something that is really reversible, as in 2 different colors. So if you're making 2 different sides, then you want just about 10 inches longer of thread. So usually I use 4 feet of thread for something that's doubled in size, on size. So just a little longer in thread.
I kind of learned it, I think. I don't know.
So once again, we're going to do the same identical beginning where you add the 11, the pearl, the 11, and your focal bead. And you're going to do that 3 times so that there's a total of 3 focals, 3 pearls, and it's just so much fun. Once you get started, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to do this. Okay. So we have all 3 of our segments on here. Slide it down so that you're only leaving like an 8 to 10 inch tail. And then we're going to, once again, oops, pass through all the beads. To form the circle. Yeah, you can't pass through them all at once. They're just too big and awkward. So I usually do it like a set at a time. Okay, so you formed them all, and then you're tying the knot with your tail so that we have our perfect little unicorn tear heart. Right. So once again, pass through the first big focal bead. And so remember the first time you picked up 4 of the little 15-ohs and 1 11-oh, we do the same identical thing. And if you're doing it in 2 different colors, we're just going to be consistent here. So 4 15s, 1 11-oh. And if you came out this side of that bead, you want to go in the other side. That way these 9 beads are going to now arc around the different bead. Okay, so I'm going to put my needle back on my thread, and this is where the difference comes in. If you want to do 2 sides or have the perimeter, instead of just 1 arch on this bead, we now do the same thing all over again. So add another 9 beads, the 4 15s, the 1 11-oh. But if you're doing 2 different colors like this is where you would add your second color of the 15-ohs. Use the different color, because this one is going to go the other direction. So this arc is sitting to the left. So once again, we're going to go around the bead and then come out. So you want to have that one, then it'll sit on the right. So now we have 2 arches on that bead. So now you want to move forward to the next focal bead. So pass through the 11-oh and the pearl, and then the other big bead. So now we're going to do the same thing again. See how one's going one way and one's going the other? If you're going to stack this to the left and you're using 2 different colors, you got to remember which color you're using. So 4 beads, 15-ohs plus 1 11 plus 4 15-ohs. And then circle around the bead so that your arc, oh, I miscounted. You need 4 on each side, not 3. 1 more. All right, now it sits perfect. So then we push that one direction and we do the second archway on that same bead. So if you're going to do 2 different sides, it is much simpler to do them at the same time, because there's only so many passes that you can get through on these pearls. So that's pretty much your limitation, is by the pearls. So when you're flipping these arcs around, make sure if you're doing 2 different colors, one goes one way, one goes the other way, and then move forward. There you go. And always then pass through your large bead. So we're going to quickly get these last arches on here, and then we'll show you how the magic happens. Because unicorns are magic, right? And so, last arc. So we have 6 arcs now for our 3 tiers. 4 plus 1 plus 4 more. So now we've got all of the 4, or all the 3 different tier focal beads have it. So now, see, this is my tail, so that way I moved all the way around. I'm going to head through to the first segment I started. So pass through the 11-oh and the pearl. And remember when we went up that first arc now? we're doing the same thing. So pass up through the first 4 15s and come out the 11 on your little arch. So now we're going to bring together just the 11s. Don't grab the 15 next to it, only the 11. So you went from 11 to 11 and now go through here. So that way, when you go from all your 11s, out of the way. See how they just come right together? Remember, we're going to go through those again so that we get them all nice and tight. And when you sewed these together, the other half of that arc pretty much just sits perfectly right here on the edge of all of those tiers. So one of them has just the center, the other one has the perimeter. So if you're going to add the little embellishment in the middle, do that next. So that way you add your little 11-0 between your 11 or a 15, and that way this will stick up and be a cute little embellishment. And you can just leave it sit wide like that if you wanted to. Or you could, once again, just pass through those 3 new 11s that you just added. Just those 3. And then when you do that, those 3 little guys will just peek up and stick up even higher. So you could pull them together if you want to, and it's like a picot on top of a picot. But it's up to you how you want, or you could add like little pearls here instead, or little fire polish, like 2 millimeter. Or you could change the color of those beads right on the top. That's pretty much your design aesthetic. So you can leave it just like this and then do your connection. Or if you don't want those to be on the outside and you want to bring them back, we could pass down through the arc just like we did before, pass through the red bead. And so if you don't want them sticking out there, if you want them to be pulled back, now you just go up the other side on the back and pull these together on the back. So go up the first 4 beads of the arc you're in and go through the 11-0. And now we're doing the same thing we did on the front on the back. And so let's pull our thread without tangling our tail. There we go. So then you're just going to jump from 11 to 11, just like you did on the other side. And that pulls it all together. My tail stuck in there. Sorry. There we go. See, it just pulls it all right together. So then you would have an embellishment on one side and an embellishment on the back side. So that's clearly, you know, your personal preference on how you would like it. And so, because you can have the back side open, or you can have the back side be enclosed, just like the front side. Or you can have the perimeter of the beads around the outside edge. So it's completely variable, and that's why we gave you a couple different colors of beads, because some people maybe wanted the red in the middle, some people wanted the gold, or if you want to hook them together, I thought it would be kind of pretty to do something like that and have the red and the gold together. You know, or you could make a bracelet, you could make multiple components. But so it really is 100% your prerogative of how you want to do it. So when you're finishing it just the same way, if you didn't want to put the extra embellishment on the back because you wanted it simpler, you could just leave the back just like that and not add those extra embellishments. And the front is the one that has the little beads that's sticky outy. So then you would just work your way back up to the pearl to make your connector piece. And if you want to strengthen these little arcs, you can do that just by passing through them once again. And so there's just so much variation. You can change sizes of the focal beads, but you don't have to change size. It'll work with a 4 millimeter, even if you go smaller. They'll just stick out maybe just a little bit more. Or I use even on the little guys, this is a 4 millimeter round. That's a 3 millimeter round. You can use a fire polish if you want. There's no reason why you can't use anything else. You can use a crystal, Swarovski crystal. It's just pretty much any 4 millimeter object fits in there perfectly. 3 millimeter fits in there pretty perfectly. If you downsize in the big focal bead, you might just have one less 15 in your arc. Like this little arc on the little 3x5s only have 3 15s and 1 11 in my little thing. I did go up bigger and I have one that is a 7x11 millimeter, and then I just went up to 5 15s in my arc. So everything else stays the same. You just might add one more 15 to get the exact perimeter. And then it's up to you whether you want to do one side embellishment, 2 side embellishment, that kind of thing. It's your imagination is your only limit, right? And so, does anybody have any more questions? Are you finished with your earring?
Do we cut the strings when we're done? Or do we knot them? Or
Generally, what I do is I then take my tail and I put my needle on it and then reinforce little parts that I want to reinforce and just go around and then just trim your tails whenever. There's no reason to knot anymore.
okay,
Just weave in your tails, follow original thread paths, or use your thread, like I said, to create your fringes or something, however you're going to hang them. Either way, yeah. So that part is up to you. But yeah, there's no more knots needed because it's pretty much in the circular pattern. And it's in an earring, you know, so it wouldn't, it's not moving or going anywhere. And so yeah, that's the fun of how you embellish it. And that's also why I gave you a couple different colors of pearls. So in case your fringes, you want to add some more, you know. And so you could add the back side after you did the whole front side, but it's not as easy as doing it 2 in 1. Pretty much you run out of space in the pearls and it's hard to get around.
Mhm.
You can do it sometimes, but it just depends on the hole size. And so, I don't know, any other questions?
I know you said that you filmed it. Could you send us a link to the tutorial or just,
Absolutely, because we're recording the class we're in now, and so Maggie said she would download it and then get it up to the membership YouTube, our UMBS YouTube page.
okay,
Right
thank
away.
you. We're just wanting to, I just want Hadassah to do it as much as possible. So I don't know if I'll remember what I did.
Absolutely, I totally understand.
Thank you so much.
You could probably re-click the Zoom link and watch it through Zoom, like today, before she downloads it, I believe. I think.
And you said it downloaded on your Facebook page?
We're gonna put it on our UMBS YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, but I'll email the class the links and let you know. But I think you can watch the Zoom as many times as until we unload it from Zoom.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. This was a lot of fun to learn.
Absolutely. So glad that you had fun. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us at Bobby Beat as well. I work every weekend, and so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Did everybody see that there's a printed tutorial or a PDF tutorial on our website too?
I should have emailed it to you guys with your Zoom link.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that they knew about it, that Hadassah knew about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I didn't know she put it there. That's good to know.
Thank you, Rochelle. This was a great class.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the tears you make.
What is the point of the name?
Well, if, because Alexandra loves really sparkly things. And so if a unicorn were to cry, I think that it would be very sparkly too. And so, but it does make that perfect little heart-shaped tear shape, so I think she's just being adorable with her naming it, but it's also limitless. Like on her pattern, she really blings it up like a big time with a lot of crystal silver lined and things like that. And so I don't know I tried to use a lot of blingy colors, but I think hers are even blingier than mine.
Oh, I think you put some great ones together. Thank you again.
And we'll have more. We just got more, all of these gem cut faceted rondelles in the shipment today in the mail. So I will have them up on the website tomorrow and the next day. So then you could the kits, you'll have to contact us if anybody wanted more kits. Otherwise you can get the individual products separately, very soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you have a rest of your wonderful weekend. Oops.